The world government has released a new video on how to survive a robot dog attack. We might as well start learning this stuff now. As you can see, staying under a bridge seems to help.
Rogue autonomous weapons are caused by misaligned artificial intelligence. They are like ordinary weapons, only many times more powerful. They are highly intelligent and are difficult to outrun.
Researchers are now working on a robotic tail. I could see this being pretty popular at cosplay, but then also, playing basketball, balance sports, it really can give you an edge. So I don't know, maybe tails will be the future. Not there yet, but as you can see, making progress. There's a new video game that shows you how propaganda spreads, and I learned way more than I should have from watching this little clip, so I think you might also. So the owner of an Airbnb actually had a host leave and decided to charge them for damages which weren't actually done, but used AI to do things like create a fake crack in the table and then demand money for it. Never saw that one coming. That's a crazy new scam. YouTube has deployed a new AI algorithm that's meant to figure out how old you are, and it's especially sensitive to people that it thinks are under 18. Here's how it works. Really interesting new change. Bollywood studio decided to use the most recent advances in AI video to create a new happy ending for one of their most famous films. The talent that was in the original and didn't consent to the new ending is not too happy about it all. In a move that might very well end up being the first social network to not just be dominated by fake bots, but actually completely 100% fake bots, Character.ai is now adding a social feed to its app of AI-generated agent people, characters, avatars, whatever you want to call them. Google's Genie 3 is out. You thought VO 3 was crazy, including the frame-to-frame update. Well, what about when a new frontier world model with that level of detail is also now interactive? That is Genie 3. We will review. This is crazy stuff. You know that quantum machine learning thing from last week was kind of over my head? Like, this is another one of those. Still fascinating to cover. It is a new algorithm that enables efficient machine learning with symmetric data. It sounds crazy, but from what I understand, when you keep data symmetrical in some sense, there's like a whole symmetry to mathematics that they're talking about. You can end up with a machine learning model that can do incredible predictions. And this approach could very well lead to enhanced AI models for drug and material discovery. We'll cover it. It's wild. There's a new series of epigenetic foundation models. These are 90 million to 7 billion parameter models that are trained on almost 2 trillion tokens of, get this, human methylation and genomic data. We'll talk about methylation and DNA and why epigenetics completely changes the way that your body interacts with your own DNA. This could be a game changer. We're going to talk about meaning versus visual features. So when you're inside of one of these AI models, you can capture the meaning, which is often very hard to quantify and describe, or the visual features, which at least we have something that we can rely on to communicate. But AI and humans see objects very differently, and I find it really fascinating to try to step into the shoes of one of these models and see the world from their point of view. We're going to look into Ingracio de Gregorio's opinion about what China gets about the artificial intelligence race that the US doesn't. And then we're going to look into whether or not AI can actually make you laugh. Can it ever be truly humorous or just simulating humor? And of course, what would a Dylan Curious video be if we don't go into somebody's opinion like Matthew's here about why physicalists dismiss consciousness, the hard problem, and then the real problem. But first, if you don't mind, take a quick second, head on over to patreon.com/Dylan Curious, where you can join the 111 members that make this channel possible. It's as little as $3 a month, or you can just hit that join button right here on YouTube and join the community where your credit card's probably already on file and help support this channel. But no worries if not, I just appreciate you being here. And I have an important video warning from pretty much the government of 1960. Like, it feels like a World War II PSA or something about how to stop a robotic dog. So we might as well start down this path. Here we go.
Infrastructure. Strikes. They can be deadly dangerous. You can protect yourself and your family. Later on, we shall show you what steps to take. To accomplish their objectives, they can be deployed by air using vampire drones. They can be equipped with mobility features like a robotic arm or outfitted with one of these weapon systems: an assault rifle, a sniper rifle,
Oh my gosh.
an anti-tank rocket launcher, or a flamethrower. Although they hunt alone, they can also be deployed in a pack for maximum damage. This is called a swarm. A swarm can communicate and coordinate to achieve its objective, killing sentient life.
All right, hope you feel safe now. Now, another tactic you could use if you're getting attacked by a bunch of robot dogs is maybe use a robotic tail. That's what these researchers are working on. So right now, this is a human tail that can be worn to improve balance. Imagine every time you bend over in any direction, it automatically offsets so that it really doesn't hurt your back when you bend over without using your legs. It shifts the wearer's center of gravity and aids in stability, especially when moving quickly or handling heavy objects. Maybe now when old people are like starting to fall, the tail can like swing the opposite direction to keep them balanced. Could be good for kids learning to walk, I suppose. I mean, can you imagine if one of these things gets connected up to a neural link in the future and your brain is sending direct signals right to your tail? That might start feeling like the way we move our limbs right now. And that would be so natural and so crazy, especially if children wore it. That seems like too much to advocate for, and I don't know if that's a good idea or not. What if they couldn't walk without the tail after a while? That'd be crazy. Wow, that'd be way crazy. But like the user Monkey Balloon Flower here says, I think everybody wishes that humans had tails. Kinda. And this user, who makes sure to let us know that he or she is not even a furry, thinks that this is both really good and a good way to help people avoid accidents and falls. Plus, it's got a certain aesthetic purpose, which is cool. Hell, having a tail would be cool and cute, to be honest. Oh my gosh, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Would you want a tail? If you did, tell me what you'd do with it. All right, I learned more about why social networks are so destructive in this 60-second video of somebody playing a video game, which is absolutely genius, than I think I ever have from all of the stuff I've read about it. Literally how propaganda works, the game. Okay, I'll let her take it from here.
Normal peeps.
Yeah,
so
some
are
normal
like a
peeps.
reporter, like. Ooh, nice hit. Oh, that is adorable.
The hats are spreading.
Oh, my squares. Uh-oh. Yeah. What? That... Squares snub circles? Why? No! Wait, why are you angry? Why? Oh! Something good happened! Who tunes into which people get along? What do you mean? They're all screaming. Circles hate squares. Ooh, who screams? Why are you screaming? Stop screaming. Everyone hates everyone.
Oh no, it's getting out of control.
No. It cannot get worse, right?
Stop.
Well, they'll just be screaming at each other then, I guess.
Look at the
Why would
news
you be
media
screaming
making
now?
money.
Ooh, look-
Nope, amplify. Be scared, be angry. This is not good. This could be AI agents soon doing things like this to us. That escalated way too quickly. That was a long one, but something about that just really got to me. I'm so concerned about agents, millions of them just sharing information, making us believe things. I'm already concerned about the media working this way. I don't know what's real. I do know that bad things sell better in the media and they go further on social media and they're more viral, and some people clearly know how to harness that to make money, and it's just like so scary for society. But anyways, that game, I feel like it has some messages in there, some lessons to learn. All right, new scam on top of it to look out for. This is the Airbnb scam. It is brand new as far as I've ever heard. Host uses AI-generated images in false $9,000 damage claim. So imagine staying at an Airbnb and you don't think you did any damage, and then you get a message later saying that you owe the owner some money because of the damage that you created, and they point to a photo like this that shows the table with a big crack in it. So part of the woman's defense, who claims she didn't create this damage, is two different photos where the crack looks slightly different, and she's saying that's probably AI creating it. So it is pretty minor, but if you look, the bottom of this crack goes right up against that light colored wood, and then here it's a bit deeper. Now, the weird thing is, I don't know exactly in this case what you do, how you prove that they used AI. So I don't necessarily want to take an exact side on this. It doesn't seem like it's obvious. Airbnb has refunded money to both sides just to make this story go away. But it certainly could happen, and I think it's really interesting to think about. But the story as it is, the woman who rented it actually got told by the host that they caused damage. Allegedly, they say that the host is using AI-generated images to support their claim. The host, which is actually somebody who's considered a super host, I guess they've done a lot of this without many problems, submitted photos showing cracked furniture and damaged appliances. The guests noticed inconsistencies in the images and challenged the claim, arguing that they were digitally altered. Initially, Airbnb sided with the host and demanded payment, but then reversed its decision after the media scrutiny, fully refunding her stay and removing the negative review. Whether the images were manipulated by traditional Photoshop, not manipulated at all, or just use straight up easy AI to say, hey, take this photo and make some cracks in the wall or make it look slightly damaged in here. I need about $9,000 worth of damage. Can you do that for me, ChatGPT? The incident has sparked a wider concern about AI's role in enabling fraudulent claims and the platform's reliance on an easy manipulated photo evidence. And it raises serious questions about the validity of digital evidence in disputes and whether or not platforms like Airbnb are equipped to distinguish real from fake. And they're not. None of us are. All right, so pretty much nobody in the world, maybe Facebook, is as good at Google as figuring out who you are without you telling them specifically. So by the habits that I have, by the types of things that I watch, by whatever, the way that I write, the timing between my taps, the people that I socialize with, all of that evidence comes together and Google makes some kind of an assumption about how old I am, what I'm into, my demographics. And that is a tool that when you're under 18 or over 18 changes what YouTube looks like to you. Now, YouTube is rolling out a new AI-based age estimation tool in the US. It starts on August 13th, and it will automatically identify users that it believes are under 18, even if they enter a different birth date when they're signing up. So you can try to lie, and it might say, all right, you say you're 19, but the way you watch Minecraft and the way you're really into Labubu's right now makes me think you're maybe 16. So it's using signals like search history, watch video types, and how long the account's been active. And then teens that are detected by the system will have protections such as disabled personal ads, digital well-being tools, and stricter content recommendation filters applied. Now, if this is you and you're thinking to yourself, I am 19 and this algorithm thinks that I am too young, don't worry, there is a new system that is coming where you can actually verify that you're over 18 via ID, credit card, or selfie. So we'll see. There's going to be a lot more of this stuff rolling out, which is just wild. I mean, it's wild that the company can essentially see through what you say you are and apply specific settings, This will be just the tip of that iceberg. All right, let's talk about essentially the first time that a real movie that a lot of people watch has had a new ending created based on AI, and it has been marketed to the mass audience that it was intended for. Now, it's not here in the US, so I'm not very familiar with this. This is a Bollywood movie. It is huge in India, supposedly. It was originally created in 2013. It is a love drama. Rangiana is what it's called. Here, actually, let's go see if there's a trailer on YouTube. That'd be fun to watch. Oh my gosh, 12 years ago, 8.2 million views. Let's see what this wonderful movie is all about. Oh, he's flirting with her. Yeah, it looks like true love. Color party. Looking wild. Let's see, I'll translate. Come on in, show a little love. We have been in love since years. Kunda, my friend. That was childish. So it's over now. Take it. Hey, rickshaw, puller, don't take money from Madame. She is your sister-in-law. You are mad. There is nothing like that. Forget me. You forget. Oh, June 2013. So imagine how a movie like that just could captivate the entire Indian audience. But it had, I guess, a sad ending. I haven't seen it, but a sad ending nonetheless. And probably millions of fans for a decade now have been saying like, oh, I want a happy ending for that. And now the company that made it was like, yeah, let's just use AI, make that happy ending, and then resell the product and make more money. And they did that. And the original actors never thought that was going to happen. Now, the company that made the movie is saying that, they did talk to people about it. We'd like to respectfully clarify that Eros representatives had engaged in direct communication. with the creative team regarding the proposed revisions, and no formal objection was communicated to us prior to the AI-enhanced re-release. But others are saying this alternate ending has stripped the film of its very soul. The fact is, the production company Eros International quietly re-released the dubbed version on August 1st of 2020, only replacing the original tragic ending with the AI-generated happy ending. And certainly many actors, including the lead actor, were blindsided by it and have publicly condemned the change. They're now actively exploring legal options also to push back, but Eros claims full ownership over the film and insists that what they did was lawful, respectfully labeled reinterpretation, not a replacement of the original content. We'll see how that one all plays out. I gotta say, I personally would be kind of interested in watching some of my favorite movies like the original Jurassic Park or something. It should be clearly labeled, and there should be the original version if you want to watch it. And certainly the company could have done more to talk to the actors, especially if their faces, these are real people now saying lines that they never said. They need to be involved, especially in this kind of a context where you should have an automatic copyright on your face. So you got to be careful about just reinterpreting movies like this, or at least reimbursing them somehow. If this re-release makes a bunch of money, they should be sort of entitled to it. They created the whole phenomenon in the first place. But easier said than done. All right, so one of the craziest AI agent places on the internet, character AI, where people often fall in love with characters or live different lives or have completely fake or agentic based friendships. Character AI, they have rolled out a new social feed so it can feel even more social when you're talking to bots. It is available on Android, iOS apps, and it's not just a scrolling feed of posts. It's fully interactive. You can talk to all of these AI agents that are characters you probably do know from TV shows and all sorts of fictional people. And if you are single and lonely, women who love you and have all sorts of interesting things going on in their lives, who travel the world digitally through AI, and you can create scenes and streams of history. You can use Avatar FX tools to generate videos yourself with you and them together, or you can have an avatar yourself that represents you if you want to live in a kind of different world. You want to put on a new hat and be a different type of person. And then the twist, anybody who sees one of these posts can remix it, extend the story, take it in a different direction, or drop their own character in for a fresh spin. So this is the new Facebook, Instagram, X for a generation that is completely immersed in agentic avatars. The feed flips typical creator-consumer dynamics on its head. Character AI designed it so that every viewer becomes a potential creator. Instead of passively consuming AI-generated stories, users can interact with and reshape them, turning the platform into a community-driven storytelling playground, and it really blurs the line between making and watching. Have to see how that one plays out. I got a feeling Elon Musk is going to be watching this, and you're going to see something like that come out of XAI soon. You know, the company that owns Twitter, that's also owned by Elon Musk. All right, now let's move on to very big news. Every once in a while, just certain mega tools come out. I think VO3 was one of the last ones, also by Google. Maybe it's not GPT-5 level, but it is big. It is called Genie 3. You should absolutely know about it. It is a new frontier model. It's really unlike anything else in the world. There are a couple models that build interactive scenes, but this is Google. They have built the best video generator right now, and they now are clearly a step ahead of everybody else in the world on this kind of thing.
What you're seeing are not games or videos. They're worlds. Each one of these is an interactive environment generated by Genie 3, a new frontier for world models. With Genie 3, you can use natural language to generate a variety of worlds and explore them interactively, all with a single text prompt.
What? Horse helicopter?
Let's see what it's like to spend some time in a world. Genie 3 has real-time interactivity, meaning that the environment reacts to your movements and actions. You're not walking through a pre-built simulation.
I'm sorry, but look at how incredible that is. I mean, the latest Grand Theft Auto, for example, does not look that realistic. We've seen stuff coming out of VO3, which of course is just prompted and generated, but now at that level almost and interactive, we're almost there. Like, do you not notice how quickly we went from crappy images to perfect images to then almost past the Uncanny Valley videos, and now almost past the Uncanny Valley interactive worlds. Like that, remember Doom, when you could move around in Doom? It was like mind-blowing. Was that even a year ago? Look at this jump. Okay, and if that was a video game, that's not such a big deal. Like, we obviously create video games where there is persistence. But if you follow this channel or you know about artificial intelligence, they're technically diffusion models. And when you turn to the right, it should lose its sense of memory, or at least that's a problem that hasn't really been overcome in a great way. It looks like until right now.
Promptable events, so you can add new events into your world on the fly. Something like another person, or transportation, or even something totally unexpected. You can use Genie to explore real-world physics and movement, and all kinds of unique environments. You can generate worlds with distinct geographies, historical settings, fictional environments, and even other characters. We're excited to see how Genie 3 can be used for next-generation gaming and entertainment.
Wow.
And that's just the beginning. Worlds can help with embodied research, training robotic agents before working in the real world, or simulating dangerous scenarios for disaster preparedness and emergency training. World models can open new pathways for learning, agriculture, manufacturing, and more. We're excited to see how Genie 3's world simulation can benefit research around the world.
My jaw is on the floor. This is absolutely incredible to me. I don't believe I truly imagined a future where this kind of stuff was here and available, but it just seems like it's around the corner. How could you not put on a couple more generations of an Apple Vision Pro or a Meta Quest and have something like this a few more generations down the road simulate perfection to the physical environment that we could understand, right? To our eyes, to our ears, maybe even to our nose. It's going to be truly immersive. And I think it's 5 years away, 10 years away. It'll easily be here in our lifetimes. And kids that are young now will grow up with it natively. And it will feel so natural for them to just exist, creating whatever they want and experiencing it in a way that's not like email. It's not like text messages. It's not like images. It's not like the Encyclopedia Britannica. It's just so, it's going to be so different. And DeepMind and Genie 3, this is world simulation like we've never seen before. The frame rates, the times, the realism. We're talking about multiple minutes versus just 8 seconds of generation. We're talking about 720. We're talking about, I think, 24 frames a second, which is pretty much the same as movies. I mean, it's still got some limitations we should cover because I'm sort of talking it up quite a bit, but text rendering, it still struggles with. Limited interaction durations. Some of the other agents in the environment are not persisting and interacting correctly, but look, big step in that direction of realism. All right, let's talk about another breakthrough now coming out of the MIT Media Press. New algorithms that enable efficient machine learning with symmetric data. This is kind of a mind bender. Now, I don't know if you've really dived into Symmetry much. I mean, I'm not an expert on it, but it seems like, especially when I'm reading books, like the history of how Einstein kind of came up with a lot of his theories and some of the stuff that mathematicians are working on and physicists to describe the universe that we're in. There's fundamental symmetries of the universe that are just found in nature, and they're sort of fascinating. They show up sometimes in natural environments, in drug discovery inside of our bodies, like the way proteins fold. There's handedness. There's a lot of mathematics and geometry stuff that has to do with symmetry, and that's an approach people can use to figure things out. So it's interesting now that MIT researchers have developed the first provably efficient machine learning method that can handle symmetric data. Okay, so what does that mean? It means it can handle and think about things like rotated molecular structures without needing tons of computational time. Symmetry is often commonly found in nature and crucial in fields like drug discovery and physics. And it has been tough so far for AI models to process this efficiently, but there's a new approach that was in this model, and it simplifies the challenge by combining algebra and geometry into a neat optimization algorithm that requires less data and could improve model accuracy while being easier on resources. So instead of just feeding it a whole bunch of symmetrical data, so say the same object, just rotate it, and then saying, now it's rotated, learn what rotation looks like, figure out symmetry on your own, the researchers in this case designed an elegant algorithm that builds symmetry into the model itself. This is very interesting. And it opens the door to creating smarter, faster, and more interpretable AI models, potentially transforming everything from material science to climate modeling. Well, we are on a roll this week, so why don't we just take that even further. Now let's talk about epigenetics. I know there's a lot going on here that's touching on almost like too many fascinating things for one video, but it is what it is. The next series of models I want to talk about are epigenetic foundation models. Okay, so just to get this in your mind, when we're talking about epigenetics, we're talking about the book of life being read in different directions and changing its meaning. So the way I always think about epigenetics is imagine taking a book and like folding the corners of some of the pages, or if you've ever read those old Goosebumps books from a long time ago where you could say, if you want to continue the story in this way, go to page 75. If you want to continue the story in this other way, go to page 30. They're choose your own endings. You could think of that a little bit like methylation on DNA. We all have a blueprint in our DNA, and that does dictate to some degree what happens, whether we get sick, how tall we are. But there is epigenetic changes also, which would be like ripping out a few pages from the book or folding the pages so the words read in a different order or jumping from page to page. They are methylation. They're a protein that can fold up the DNA and kind of hide it so that you can read a sentence while some of the middle of the words have been squeezed out. So when it's making a protein, it just skips right over those things. And those are usually in control of us. This is sort of the big breakthrough in life. We should be eating correctly. We should be staying away from pollution because there are epigenetic changes in our body that are making us less healthy. So anyways, hopefully you maybe already knew that, but this is a new series of artificial intelligent models, and they have been trained on 1.9 trillion tokens of human methylation and genomic data. So they are learning how the genome can be affected by this methylation, and it accurately models how epigenetic changes are going to work. They can make predictions about what will make somebody, essentially healthier or less healthy. And this could have a very big impact on how we could make strategic epigenetic changes to help with neurodegenerative diseases and all sorts of other medical insights. So the name of these models are Politis, and they outperform existing genomic tools across a variety of tasks, from accurately generating cell-free DNA, which are like DNA fragments, to in silico identifying their tissue organs and even aiding in diagnosis of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. The model achieved state-of-the-art results on benchmark tasks. All right, but here's sort of the big insight is this model can separate out something like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's patients from control groups only using a small clip of DNA, that CF DNA that we were talking about before. That means that it can rival what were normally plasma biomarkers that weren't as reliable, as it means that this AM model could soon diagnose a complex brain disease using just a simple blood sample. Next up, let's put ourselves inside of the mind of an AI system and think about how the world looks different compared to the one we have as humans. So there was a recent study that was published, and it shows that AI and humans interpret images in fundamentally different ways. So human viewers focus on a scene's meaning, right? So as a human, we recognize what an object is, what it represents, whereas an AI system might rely heavily just on straight visual features, color, textures, lines, shapes, to try to make sense of what the image is. So researchers even created an online game called Click Me to record where humans look when they're viewing a scene, and that data helps train AI models to align more closely with the human gaze and interpret the same kind of patterns that we do. But the big takeaway from this research is that even when AI outperforms a human, like in a brute force visual processing task, it's just telling us even in super fine detail what's in an image and human eye can't see it, it is still fundamentally seeing the world in a different way that we are. So as a human, we automatically infer meaning, like this is a dog chasing a ball. We know that dogs are real things that love to chase balls. We have sort of a sense of who they are, whereas the AI might just know that dogs chase balls, but not because they understand the meaning behind a dog and what fun is and why the ball is interesting to a dog in the same way we would. AI sees a cluster of shapes, colors, edges, and the gap is exactly what ClickMe is trying to bridge. So these researchers think that with this new data set, they can make it so that AI will start paying attention to what people actually look at in hopes of making it visually reason more like a human would. Next up, let's jump over to some opinions. No stranger to this channel. I've covered stuff from Ingracio de Gregorio before, but I thought this was another really interesting insight. He points out what China gets about the AI developments that the US doesn't. Okay, now there was a lot of interesting things in this article I am going to point to in a second, but one is very important, and it was the big moment when I was reading it that I thought, wow, I have to share this. He says, quote, "This reason is simple. In the grand scheme of things, in the US-China race, victory isn't only measured in who has the best model, but which currency most of the compute is paid in." And my mind was blown. You might not know this or have the same insight I do or the same gut feeling that this is really what the entire kind of history of the US in the Middle East has all been about. But there's this argument that the main reason that the US even is in the Middle East, and certainly even if this isn't the main reason, one of the benefits that the US has got from it is controlling oil. And you might think, well, why would the US need to control oil? Because it's valuable and they can make money and it's strategic. But there's another part of that, which is that you want the world to buy oil because everybody in the world needs it in the US dollar. And the US dollar is actually printed by the US government, which gives us this huge leverage to kind of spend above our means and do all sorts of strange economic stuff. And then it was like, oh, that's crazy. The next oil might be compute. And it's very important that it's done in the US dollar. I hadn't even thought about this before, but it's a kind of an infrastructure play, right? Like you want the US dollar to be the thing behind it all. You want the companies to be US based. You want to be buying NVIDIA GPUs in dollars. That's hugely strategic for any government. Because if you think about it, if, say, Russia has some oil and they sell it to China, there's a Russian currency, there's a Chinese currency, but if they have to sell it in dollars because that's how everything's valued and that's how the entire infrastructure between oil goes, the US benefits from all of that currency being out in other countries. They probably, the next big superpower that controls the majority of how compute is paid might be the next big winner in that battle. So yeah, while it may be hard to justify at the company level, it's basic common sense at the national security level. In other words, the US government should strongly encourage US labs to open source as much as possible. For example, it's rumored that OpenAI's upcoming open source model will only run on NVIDIA Blackwell GPU. So it's an American model running on American GPUs. And that's where the open source comes into play, and it's what you want the rest of the world to adopt. You know what I mean? If, for example, one country controls the world's oil, gas-powered everything across the world is in their best interest. I know, there's a lot of big ideas going on in this episode. Often AI gets us thinking, but there's something special about this week. There's just so much crazy stuff that has been crossing my mind. He's arguing that China and the U.S. are operating under fundamentally different value systems. While the U.S. is preoccupied with profits and metrics, China is playing the long game. They're focused on influence, persistence, and strategic positioning over those short-term gains. We got to remember this isn't a battle just for what company's making a better product, but it is about who's building the underlying infrastructure. And he suggests that America's obsession with immediate monetary returns blinds them to the broader geopolitical advantages, whereas China is content to prioritize systematic control and enduring leadership over quarterly earnings. I mean, that's another thing I think is a problem. I really hate short-term thinking, especially when it comes to building companies. He argues that China doesn't care if it can't win, quote, boat right now, as long as it eventually gets there, that mindset, taking advantage of that time, not focusing on instant profits, using the government power to make sure that companies are sharing inside of the country what their knowledge is and their resources are in a way that maybe the US companies aren't, puts China's patience and strategic consistency into a real edge over what the US and America is trying to do right now. All right, next up, let's talk about AI and comedy. So I was really interested in how funny AI could be for a while. This article, it's called AI Can Make You Laugh, but Can It Ever Be Truly Humorous? It explores how AI-powered systems, especially large language models, they generate jokes, and they can sometimes even, get a chuckle or some laughter, some dad jokes, whatever. But despite growing capabilities in mathematics and PhD level everything, it seems like, these systems still really struggle with deeper, nuanced side of humor, right? Like, you don't think that these things are as funny as comedians, and it doesn't even feel like anyone's trying or measuring it. When will the timing, the cultural context, the emotional subtlety, and the genuine creativity work its way into these models? I don't know. Researchers argue that some of the enhanced models can get close to human level performance in certain memes or caption contests. There's still something missing in the tonality, the way we talk to these systems. I don't think it'll be elusive forever, but I do think that will come, but it might not actually be until we get real hardware like humanoids walking around, where they end up with the certain kind of social awareness and cognitive flexibility, audience tuning that comes from being in a room with someone, reading their eyebrows, having a robot that's expressive enough to look sad, make a joke, kind of zing you a little bit with its finger guns or whatever it needs to do. Obviously, I'm not that funny. But joke making and genuinely engaging humor might be one of those top frontiers. That might be when we have ASI, when a robot, something like Optimus, a humanoid in your house, is just hilarious, genuinely makes you laugh. So if you enjoyed this content, patreon.com/Dylan Curious. You can sign up now to support the channel or hit that join button to be a community member here on YouTube. Please leave a comment. I'm really interested in your thoughts on all of this stuff. I love to read through them, and I love the community. So thanks for helping me build this channel, and we will take this ever-changing world day by day together. See you in the next video.